Bones 11-2 is my opponent in the final round of the second week of the 28th Grand Arena season. And as you can see, they already attacked before I could start my attack. So I kind of had an idea what I had to clear. And I was a little bit surprised to see that score. So there were some fails on the offensive round of my opponent, which I kind of didn't expect because they usually play full efficiency. So I was guessing there might be some GLs in the back wall. And we already look at a tricky front wall here, especially in the south. So I had to, juggle a little bit which teams I want to use on which of my opponent's defensive teams. And so I started with this, not ideal counter to gas, because usually I would have loved to use CLS, but I wanted to keep CLS for another match, which we will look at later. And so I tried Dash, because I also wanted to keep Bam in case there was a Lord Vader on the back wall. It's not an ideal counter. As you can see, Han is on the verge of dying, and suddenly he's gone. Scoundrels, they always run away, you see, especially from life. Anyway, but at least my target for this match was, okay, I guess it will be a 2-shot, so I'm fine with a 2-shot. And then I just have to keep kind of efficient on all the other battles if I want to win. Of course you want to win, but you never know. And then I wanted to redeem myself from the loss from last round, and again used Bad Batch versus this Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron team. And again, the speeds were a little bit messy, so Anakin lost the stun, but I then juggled turns around, could stun him again, and then could go for Qui-Gon. Didn't kill him though, so I had to farm again Anakin a little bit, or Cam. You can choose whichever you want in that case, because there was no counter attack at the moment available. Then I got lucky a little bit that the attack didn't kill anyone here, but then again could land Daze, could stun, and in the same turn kill Qui-Gon. And from that point on, it was pretty straightforward. Just had a dodge there, which is unfortunate, but then could pass the turn to Hunter again, and he took out Anakin, and then another, I think that there was a dodge, I think there was foresight involved, and which helped me to gain back full banners. So that was nice, and I could get some banners back, which I lost already by having one fail. And so for the next battle, I choose to take in Wampa against this Darth Revan team, which is a pretty straightforward battle. As long as there is no Malak, it's an easy solo for Wampa, I think. As you can see, this set was Relic 9. In general, my opponent had, I think, overall 17 or 18 Relic 9 characters, which is a lot. I mean, I have 13, I think, or 12 or 13, I think, not sure. But this is quite impressive. Then versus this Dash team, or the Dash team of my opponent, I had to use a kind of dicey counter. As you can see, Xavier was already triggered in the first shot instance from Han, and suddenly both JKR and GMY were on the verge of death, and luckily I could turn the table still, could heal them up, could take out Chewie, and then it's quite straightforward. But if both would have been gone there, the battle would have been lost, and I would have taken something bigger, which I didn't want to do because I thought I had to at least face 1 or 2 GLs on the back wall. So I was kind of lucky here again, but then again, it was a dicey counter anyway, so I felt quite happy that it worked out the way it did. I had Jolie on defense. Jolie is better than Basti in this case on offense. Then versus the Rex team, I chose to play with Padme and also Mace, because I didn't have another tank that would be helpful here, so I chose him, which also meant I couldn't use Mace on my Starkiller team, which I kind of like to use him with Vader, but I would have had MJ and EP, or even MJ and Vader as a combination, so that was not killing my Starkiller team, but still. This battle here is kind of straightforward. You just want to make sure you take out 5s first, then Rex next, because otherwise he does something like this and takes out your characters with Rexecute. And then just after that happened, I just wanted to take him out quickly before he gets to another execute and takes out either Padma or Snips. And then of course Echo himself is always a bit annoying with all the dazes, the damage he does with his turns and all of that. So quite nasty banners. But because I still had a little bit of wiggle room, I was fine with losing banners here. I didn't want to play efficiency because I just don't like to play efficiency. And overall, this match was pretty weird for myself because throughout the match, at some point, I felt I need to play efficient and then I didn't really like it to play. In all the other matches where I didn't feel I have to play efficient, I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting like 57 banners here, no problem. Also with dicey counters. But all the other banners or counters where I could have saved some banners, I didn't. So you can see later in some matchups. This is the back wall, by the way. I was quite surprised there wasn't a GL. Only maybe the most threatening team is the small team. But other than that, I was quite surprised because there were some fails on my teams, on my defense, and so I expected a heavier defense. So I was surprised, but in a positive way. Then versus this JKL team, I used my Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron team, which I didn't have any data points on that. Wasn't sure if it would work. I guess it would work. But yeah, it didn't. It neither feel very particularly good or also didn't feel dicey. So I guess it's just a normal counter, I'd say. You just wait for them to take out your Qui-Gon Jinn and don't waste any specials. Once he's taken out, you take out their team except Kenobi because he's too thick. In most cases, because he was also Relic 9, and then you get 54 banners. Nice. Then versus this Hero Nest mashup team, I used kind of a classic counter. Bosk, Grief, and Mando. There was no Lord Vader, so both Bosk and Grief were free for other usages. And so this team is quite a classic, even though I sometimes also prefer to still use Aura with Grief and Mando also in freeze. It's also a nice team because the contract is still easy to trigger, but because you don't have to go after a certain opponent like the weakest one as with Bosk, but it might take a little bit longer. So for offensive heavy teams, this counter is better because Bosk adds more survivability here. And as you can see, once you have the contract, it's pretty simple and straightforward, and the other team didn't really have a chance to, threaten me here. With all, it is a bit different. Versus CLS, I placed Fridian, and I've seen like in the stats of this counter that I think it is about like 80% or something reliable for people. So there's a chance to fail, of course, because it can get dicey. At points, also in all the times I used it, it felt dicey, at least in like this 3 versus 3 season. But in this match, I felt quite okay. After I had the chance to fracture CLS, it felt good. And now, once you have fracture, what you essentially just do is like spam not basic specials as soon as they're available. Then you can reduce Thrawn's turn meter, because every time when fracture is landed and one of the allies uses a special, the Empire allies, he loses turn meter. So then you can essentially make fracture stay longer. That was very badly phrased, but I didn't have the right words right now in my head. I feel a little bit tired, sorry. Anyway, and what you then do is just also land armor shreds. And so the armor shreds really help to take down both CLS and Chupio. Doesn't really matter how thick they are. At some point they just will melt. And there are also explosives involved from Stormtrooper at times, so that helps. Daze helps, ability blocks, so when there's a counter attack you get a stun, as you've seen here. It's a very good control team, especially versus this CLS team, which is hard to control I usually. That's also a reason why I really don't like JTR so much versus this team. It's just, yes, you have days and all these kind of things, but it don't really help. Fracture really helps to control the team, and especially the TM removal. And as you can see, CLS is gone. My team isn't really in danger here anymore. Now just about getting banners back or not losing banners and taking out 2PO, which will happen pretty soon, I think. And even if he does that, all the bonus protection prevents you from losing banners, and then again you move Terminator, fracture him again, and then the match is over and you have full banners. It's a nice counter, but takes a little bit of finesse, so to say. The downside of using Thrawn in the counter versus CLS was that I couldn't use him here. I would have preferred that. So I would have preferred to have Traya, Thrawn, and Nihilus versus that team. Then I could have isolated Padme right away, fractured Hunter, and then just farm the others until I could take out Hunter or Padme. And so in this case, I didn't have that. So they stunned Traya, I couldn't isolate, and then Hunter took her out quite easily, or Padme did, but Hunter really is the dangerous one in this team, I think. Because he has quite some offense, he has exposes, which really do hurt the team, do hurt the Sith. So at this case, I wasn't really in a fear of losing it, but I just was in a fear of getting to Held by Hatred, and after that I felt a bit safer, because if Sion would have fallen before he got to that point, it would have been quite a dangerous battle, because Nihilus alone can withstand a little bit of time, but eventually they would have gotten him down. So first move was taking out Padme, so to, you know, make it more difficult for them to heal, to not to cleanse, and also to gain bonus protection. This was now a little bit like under control, so I felt more confident also about the danger of our friend Hunter here. If it wasn't for Held by Hatred, I might have taken out Hunter first before Padme, just to get rid of the damage dealer. Even though Padme also does quite some damage, depending on the situation, of course, and the stacks of courage and who you're facing and whatever. Yeah, but the battle now is under control, so I could have, again, in this case, could have farmed Wrecker to get back to full banners on Sion, but I didn't really care that much, because it was a very weird match for me. I was always like in between. Do I care about winning? Do I not care about winning? And as soon as I cared about winning, I felt pressure and I didn't like it. I also felt it physically, which is super weird, which takes out the fun for me recently out of Grand Arena. So I even consider not to sign up for the next week, but not sure yet. Anyway, versus there were two teams left which I considered dangerous on the board, and this was one of them, Maul, because I could have taken in troopers because this Canarus wasn't too fast, but I didn't want to risk it. I wasn't too lazy to do the math, so I was like, oh, okay, I take the safe route and take in Lord Vader. I think he can deal with it pretty easily. At the same time, I have the feeling, because there are armor shreds coming from the armorer, if there was a way for Maul to cleanse the dots, I think this would have been, the solo would be a loss, because the armor shreds at some point would just help Maul to get in more damage. Not like the true damage, but like any other damage that is dealt to him. But because there's no way for them to cleanse the dots, at least at some point, at a certain stage in the match, it's, yeah. It's a pretty safe solo. That's what I wanted to get at. Just take some time. And the other team, which was still on the board that I found was like threatening, was the Iden Versio team. But for that, I had 2 free options left. One of them would have been Starkiller, but I wanted to try something else, which you can see later. Now just waiting for Maul to fall. That's what we're waiting for. Yeah, again, it takes some time with Lord Vader to ramp up his damage output, which isn't so high on my Lord Vader anyway. Mine is modded for like protection mainly. I think I have protection on the circle, the cross, the triangle, and the arrow. Still 570-ish speed, so that's okay. But yeah, he's quite a monster in that regard. So versus this Sorry mixed team, I used CLS. I had Sorry on defense as well, minus Relegate. I also used to be, or maybe I still am, like the one with the highest offense stats on Sorry in the game. So yay to that. And she got a hold on my back wall. That was nice to see. Because I guess it's just less because a novelty thing. People don't know what to use. But I felt CLS might be a good option. Which, ever since I use this team on offense, I feel if there's something I don't know what to do against, I just use that team because you have so many ways to deal with the opponent. You have exposes, you have terminate removal, you have buff immunity, you can inflict blind. There's so many things. You have quite some damage output, and yeah, just a great team. Then versus this Darth Vader team, South back wall, I decided to use Troopers. It's again almost like overkill, but at the same time not. And here I should have used like the AoE, then I would have landed like Fear on the 8th rubber. So he got a move and stripped one banner from me, but I really didn't care that much, which is so funny to say, but yeah, it's just the way it is. And then here's the team which I tried to use, and it was super stupid because I forgot about a lot of kit details from Aiden. And I was just, hey, maybe that sounds funny, maybe it works. Because I had the idea maybe it like getting to 5 stacks helps, but then they just focus on Maul is gone, and then it's just JKL. It was a stupid thing to use that team. Don't even try it again, but I don't know. There was something which I wanted to try, and the thing with JKL is, of course, the stupid thing, like all his counterattacks just beef up or like heal up the team, so that was so stupid. But at the same time, in my head was like, okay, I have one safe counter, which is Starkiller, or I have one stupid idea, which I'm sure will fail, but I want to see it fail, to just be sure it fails. And of course, instead of just taking the safe route, I was like, hey, just let's do the stupid thing and risk the match. But I was fine with losing the match because, yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know. At some point, I just don't care about winning, and I rather like be safe that I lose, so I have no chance to win anymore. Then I don't feel too much pressure, and I can enjoy the matchup. But if I'm like in a situation where I want each banner counts, and because I then can win, I'm just like, yeah, feel so stressed that I feel it physically, which really isn't the healthiest thing. And I think fun is more important than winning, and yeah. Not sure why I say this. I guess you don't care, but just if you ever feel like it doesn't feel like fun anymore, just like maybe just don't try to win too much and just like enjoy the game as it is, right? Which I also try to do from now on. But at the same time, I guess people who watch these videos are also more interested like in quote-unquote end game content, like yeah, top 50, but who cares in the end, right? It's just about fun. Especially like if you win such a match and climb up the ladder and like top 10 or whatever, it's so much pressure there. I really don't think it's fun anymore for those people who play these matches. There was also like a time where the top whatever, like 10 people, at least those from CAR, didn't sign up because they just lost fun in playing against each other all the time. So, which is the downside of the current system that we have. You're just facing the same opponents all over and over again, at least in certain areas of the leaderboard, which is just a little bit boring. Not only for those who are playing against each other, but also for those who might watch the content from content creators who always see the same matches in the end. But anyway, while I'm rambling here and like sharing my thoughts on the whole situation, EP, Mara, Starkiller, take out this Island Versio team, and it takes a bit of time because again, attacks out of turn, so you have to have shock or healing immunity, especially to prevent like the protection game regen, and have regen really both kind of, and so it took some time to take them out, but eventually got it, and so could have taken it first try, but yeah, just wanted to see what happens. Then we were in fleets, and there were Negotiator, Raiders, and Executor on defense. So versus Raiders, I'm using my Rebels. It's just such a fun matchup in a way. Fun as in button mashing, it just works. Not really, but you have to know what you do when what you're doing, but it just feels so butter smooth to usually. There are times when I guess it can go south, which happened to me once, I think, at some point, but usually it's a nice matchup. It's like coming home after a long work day and suddenly it's your couch and it's welcoming. That's how it feels to me to play this. So that was the easy match. Then versus Executor, I again took in Finalizer because I don't like the mirrors and I avoid them at all costs. Not because I cannot play them, but because I don't think it's interesting for myself. You know, you want to see what happens and you want to deal with different situations. And in this case, everything was okay so far up until this point, but then they focused down my Echelon. And at that point I was quite sure this would be a fail. Usually there are chances to recover from this, but it's an uphill battle from there on. And my Fu is R8, so I was kind of intrigued to put him to R9, but at the same time I don't care that much. Then had in my reinforcement, had ability block and stun on Houndstooth. Then came IG 2000, stunned my shuttle. If it would have been Slave 1, no problem. Could have been still a win, but IG 2000 might have been the lose condition here. So this will be a loss. But might have been a condition which pushed the loss because the shuttle is too important. Usually you have like one ship which is really the win condition in each fleet. Like Anakin for Negotiator is the most important ship, and it's Silencer for the First Order, but pretty close second then is the shuttle. With the TM gain, the buffs, and all these kind of things it passes around, it's just too essential for this fleet. And so when it was stunned, I lost my engine, so to say, and that's not a good feeling. Unless you have a bicycle and don't have an engine at all or something like that. I don't care. Yeah. So, even struggled to take out Houndstooth. And spoiler, wasn't able to take out Houndstooth, and then they took out my ships. And I'm stuck. I don't have a big hit available. And then they just take out my capital ship and then essentially the rest of my fleet. So that was unfortunate. So by this point, okay, it was clear that I've lost the match. And I was kind of okay with it. The only thing I would have not been okay with is like again not clearing ships. So what I tried, I was using Negotiator against Executor as a cleanup, and this didn't really feel well, especially because Anakin was killed immediately, which is the win condition for that fleet, especially against lineups with Houndstooth, because you kind of need the buff immunity to help you with that. But so I was like, okay, maybe try at least to take out the side ships so that I can hopefully throw in a third fleet to kill Houndstooth, because I was quite sure that that a fleet like the Negotiator fleet without Anakin was not capable of taking out a thick Houndstooth. I think the boss was also Relic 9. And yeah, and because it's quite boring to watch this, I will from now speed up this whole thing in the background. So, and I didn't only have to speed up the whole thing, but also cut out some of the middle parts because I received a message which was visible on screen in my recording, and so I didn't want to expose some information from people I am in touch with. That's why I've cut out that part, sorry for that. But nothing happened, RC was taken out, and then I struggled to take out Houndstooth. And so I was like on the verge of tilting, not because of the match in general, but because again, Executor might have cost me a full clear. And so I tried to clear my mind and went back to the character battles and essentially wanted to clear the south wall. So for that, I started with Night Sisters again versus GG. I also could have used more Mothma here, but I kind of felt more doing something fun instead of this also like quite intense battle with more Mothma, because at times it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere with the quite reduced damage output. Of course, then after a while, GG kills the droids passively or helps to kill them or take them down, as long as, especially because there is no B1 available here. But I don't know, Night Sisters just feel more fun in that case. Of course, it's also a little bit of like a butt clench battle as soon as they fall. Like in this situation, if there would have been like one more move from GG, might have been a stun on Daka and then it would have been over potentially, but it didn't happen, so Daka brought him back, and then it's 3 versus 1, and Plague just does its job, and so it's quite easy to take out this Relic 9 GG. And the last match was versus these Inquisitors. I didn't really know what to expect. I played them offensively like an Conquest and the Galactic Challenge from last week. Yeah, they're not really impressive. I mean, in some matchups they are nice. In the Lord Vader team, then they can do great things, especially 7 Sister and 9 Sister, I think. But as a standalone faction, yeah, I don't really see the use. I hope Grand Inquisitor will change things a little bit, even outside of territory wars. But when I see how Boba Fett does, I'm not confident that this will be a good team outside of territory wars. We will see. There's hope. All right. And so this JTR hero team just takes them out. Not the best banners, but yeah, doesn't matter anymore, right? So, and then I sped up this fight. It was leftovers of the leftovers and the Tarkin fleet versus Hound's Tooth and the Executor. And I brought in Wedge Antilles here as a reinforcement because he lands buff immunity, but I should have waited with him to bring him in after I made some progress on Hound's Tooth. It doesn't really feel like I make any progress here. So my idea was just bringing damage dealers as much as I can and potentially having a stun. That's why IG, oh god, 2000 this year. But doesn't really like I'm getting anywhere. Still bonus protection on it. It's healed. It's cleanses its buff. Having my ultimate available, but nothing happens. At the same time, trying, you know, or hoping not to get like the ultimate from the Executor, so that my fleet or my capital ship is taken out as well. And then I brought in Lando, Lando's Millennium Falcon. I think this was the key for this match to work, because eventually, like, this is the ship that helps me taking down Hound's Tooth. And at some point, like 2 minutes left, and I think I just pressed auto. Like at this point, I was like, okay, we will see. If this fails, I will clear just a negotiator fleet with my Executor, and then I stop and throw my phone away. But eventually, as you can see, bit by bit, taking it down, and yeah. And at least from the looks, Lando does the main work on this. As you can hear, I'm quite drained from this battle. So final match from this fight, which, just to make clear, I lost because I played stupid. And yeah, Executor versus Negotiator is just so a simple battle. You can even care about banners, but you don't have to. Like, I didn't do anymore, so it's just messy. You can also like drag it a little, heal up, you know, all these kind of things people do, or we do as players to get banners back. Or you just don't care and kill the fleet and are happy that it's over. Yeah, I have no energy, sorry for that. It's just like, at the moment I struggle with the whole thing. Or with my approach to Grenadine. Only with my approach, more like the implications of winning, and then you having like to fight against someone, and there's not really something at risk, because I think 2-1 is still great for a week. You're like always like moving upwards slowly in the ranks, but I wonder if I care about that, or it's just like if I want to have fun by playing dicey counters and stuff like that, right? I think this is the most fun. And as you can see here, I lost by 20 banners, and so congrats to my opponent, and I lost, and that's okay. See you next week. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Bye.